Now, Ashwika Kapur is India's only woman to win a Green Oscar in a global category, and she's also the youngest winner. Her latest film, Catapults to Cameras, takes on illegal wildlife hunting in West Bengal and has been nominated for the Jackson Wild Media Awards. That's the US's biggest nature film awards. It is among the highest honors in the field of nature and wildlife filmmaking. She's up against much larger productions, including the documentary Watershed, which has been funded by the Redford Center. We asked her why a hunting festival in Bengal drove her to make a documentary.
The scale and the cruelty of it was far greater than anything I could have ever imagined. This was not a hunt for money. This was not a hunt for food. This was entirely a blood sport that was driven by young men. And when I say young men, it is a recent phenomena that this sort of a hunt has become so big on this scale because of technology. So over the last few years, younger men in rural communities in Bengal essentially coordinate these hunts entirely on WhatsApp and smartphones. So what used to in the past be traditional hunts that used to take place in really small scale in their backyards has now turned into this mass sort of hunting sport, this blood sport that takes place across rural Bengal. And the moment you kind of understand the mindlessness of it is when you see what they are killing. They don't come out of forests killing big animals. They even come out of forests killing the tiniest birds in nests. So this is a blood sport, and over 100,000 men come together to sort of collect together and go 100 kilometers from home, enter forests and kill everything indiscriminately. But what was equally alarming to me, apart from the sort of the indiscriminate killing of wildlife, what was equally alarming to me was that children, boys as young as 7 and 8, were being taken along in these hunts to participate in this massacre. And I found that extremely difficult to see. So that is where this sort of story and this idea came about. And we decided to approach what was a really grim subject, a really difficult subject, with something that was equally powerful, which was hope. And that's why Catapults to Cameras sort of was born.
And one of the interesting approaches you took was the route of using children to tell the story and to see it through their eyes, which also means that the outcome could be entirely unpredictable. Can you tell us why you decided to take that risk and go that route?
So essentially, I wanted to find the root of the problem. So when I went to these hunting villages, I realized that the root of the problem was that children, from the time they were 2 or 3 years old, were given their first weapons, which was a catapult. And they were taught from childhood that all animals are targets. So they were taught that, anything that moves, anything that's sort of like a bird, an animal in your backyard, any wildlife was a target, and they would shoot with their catapults. And those children then go on to those bigger hunting festivals. So how could we have inspired them to look at wildlife a different way? Because if they've been taught one thing, these are just kids. They can be taught something else. So that's when the idea sort of came to me that what if, just as an experiment, we chose 5 boys from these hunting villages who are kind of on the cusp of going for those big hunts. They're at that coming of age cusp between the ages of 10 and 13 before they go for the big hunts. And what if we gave them cameras for a week? Would they change the way they view wildlife? And that experimental sort of pilot project is exactly what the documentary is about. So you're absolutely right when you say that we didn't know which direction this would take. And that was a risk that I was willing to take because I had a hunch that at the end of the day, what children need is the right influence.
In our industry, Ash, they say avoid working with children and animals because they are so difficult to direct. And you've done exactly both with this documentary. Can you tell us the biggest challenge you faced and perhaps the most encouraging outcome from this?
The biggest challenge I would have faced is finding a partner for this documentary, because you'll be surprised that there's a lamentable lack of platforms globally that fund purely conservation content. But India, amazingly, has one platform that is entirely dedicated to conservation content. So I think the main thing for me was to partner up with a platform that highlighted conservation. And I found this platform called Round Glass Sustain, which has been launched by a individual philanthropist called Sunny Singh in the US. And the entire platform is dedicated to nature storytelling, to conservation storytelling. So to get a platform that was willing to take that risk with me and tell an authentic story and give hope a chance was both a challenge and turned out to be quite a blessing.
Now, at the time of this recording, this documentary has been nominated at the Jackson Wild Media Awards. That's the US's biggest nature film awards. Can you tell us the significance of this? Also, given that your budget, as far as documentaries go and nature documentaries go, wasn't very huge.
Yeah, so this budget was really, really small. Like, it was very, very modest film that was made locally entirely by a local crew, a local story told in Bengal. And what's amazing is that it's currently in Jackson Wild, been nominated in the Impact Campaign category, which itself is a very, very special category because it recognizes films that have gone beyond the screen to actually have a real world impact. And Catapults to Camera started as a film, started as a concept that was born in the field, and has now gone on to become an actual conservation project in Bengal, where every month boys of that same age group are trained in sort of wildlife photography, so they start seeing wildlife in a different way. And obviously, once you've seen the beauty of wildlife, they can't unsee it, and they don't hunt anymore.
Ash, I don't want to diminish from your achievements, but your accomplishments are extraordinary for any filmmaker, I would say, but also as an Indian woman, to be able to get past certain social boundaries or expectations from you. Can you tell us about some of the challenges you may have faced to get to where you are, or have you felt like you have received a lot of support from India itself?
Well, to be honest, when I first sort of said that I was going to be a wildlife filmmaker, everybody thought I'd gone a little bit mad because, to be honest, even now in India, unless you're a doctor, an engineer, or a lawyer, at least a professor, you're pretty much considered doomed. So wildlife filmmaking wasn't exactly considered a real career option at all. And the most important thing that I think I had to do, where I had to find the strength, was to stick with it. It's more the sort of sticking with it through those dissenting voices and through those challenging times, and kind of like believing in what you do so that you can sort of prove yourself. But having said that, there has also been equal amounts of support from the larger industry as well. So the challenges have come with the good, and it's all about sticking with it and giving it your best, and most importantly, having fun, because I think magic happens when you enjoy what you do. Something magical happens, and it reflects on screen.
And speaking of what keeps you going, we talk about societal pressures and expectations, but at the end of the day, the ecology and the environment we're facing isn't too encouraging. Species are disappearing every single day. We're facing global warming, climate change. So what is it that keeps you going? What is it that gives you hope to carry on making your stories, putting your films out there?
I think, first of all, I have to say my career choice, as well as what I do, comes from a very simple and extremely powerful love for nature. So I feel a very strong moral responsibility towards the natural world. I've always been an enormous fan of animals, and that is my calling in life. I am the storyteller of the conservationists out there. And I've encountered thousands of people out there who are just working against the odds, working in every which corner of the world, giving it their absolute best every single day to look after their patch of the planet. They are doing what they do in their own backyard, looking after their part of the planet. And together, all those people come together to create the larger picture of conservation. And to me, that's what really drives me, to tell those stories about those people and those places across the world that give me so much hope that even against so many odds, there are incredible people there every single day fighting to keep this planet safe. And as a storyteller, it's my responsibility and my calling in life to bring those stories to you.
That was Ashwika Kapur, filmmaker and science communicator, joining us from Bristol.